It was 1965. Make love, not war. That was the chant of young people who were beginning to question the United States' involvement in the Vietnam conflict. I do not call it a war because it never was a war. Single men between 18 and 32 were being unwillingly drafted. But students were deferred. Only if they made adequate progress, well, more than adequate, stayed in school full time, didn't drop any classes during the semester, didn't change majors, and begged, please draft board, I just need one more semester to get my degree. But married men were exempt. So my college boyfriend and I decided to make love legally. We got married. 1967. Hell no, we're not going to go. Yes, protests in the street. Burning their draft card. Protests. Ever-expanding United States expansion in the Vietnam War. More troops, less exemptions. Now they were even drafting married men. So I discovered that married men with a child, or one on the way, was exempt. So I got pregnant. Protests, burning, so much in campuses that it literally brought classes to a stop. By then, my husband had been accepted to graduate school. He proudly announced to his family, I've been accepted to graduate school. I'd rather see my son die in Vietnam than get a PhD, his career Marine father blurted. It was understandable. His dad was a veteran of World War II, actually claimed missing in action on June 15, 1944, the day his son was born. Later found, hospitalized, and 2 years of recuperation before he finally held his son. My father was an undocumented immigrant taken from Mexico to the United States when he was just a toddler with his widowed mother and baby brother. They were fleeing the revolution, Mexico fighting for their independence from Spain between 1911 and 1920. So when World War II broke out, my father enlisted in the Army, and after his service, he was granted full United States citizenship. Yes, there was talk about ways to avoid the draft, going to Canada, but those were very contentious subjects on both sides of our family. Graduate students were talking about how do we beat the draft, underground networks to Canada, and flunking your draft physical was the top of the chart. One guy actually started taking his wife's diet pills, became a chain smoker, and when he showed up for his physical, he had a note from the doctor documenting his heart arrhythmias. Another guy put scopolamine underneath his fingernails. That's a prescription medication for nausea or seasickness. But at his draft physical, when you lightly tap your eyelid, you suddenly have erratic pupil dilation. Flunked, back to graduate school. Another guy completely faked homosexuality. Another guy, total mental illness. I went into labor. Sadly, my baby son died at birth. Honey, we can still go to Canada. They're accepting graduates from America. They're even giving them full-time jobs when they graduate. No, honey, I've got to do the right thing. So he enlisted in the Air Force and signed up for officer candidacy school. Well, several months later, he got his notice. By then, I was pregnant again. So he asked the Air Force, could you please postpone my class just one more cycle so my wife can have her baby, I'll have time to get my master's degree, and then clear slate, we're ready to go. So several months later, I had my baby son. No notice from the Air Force. 2 years later, my husband got his PhD. No notice from the Air Force. There were some tough financial times those last 2 years of graduate school, and I would tease, hey, honey, you think we can call the Air Force and ask them for some of that back pay? Shh, shh, don't tell. So in 1971, my husband became a professor here at the University of Florida's College of Medicine in the new Department of Neuroscience. 23 years later, he co-wrote a grant with the Department of Defense and awarded $20 million to focus on brain trauma and spinal cord injury, two devastating casualties of war. So, with matching funds from the College of Medicine and also the hospital, the state of Florida, and additional private donations, $60 million was raised, not only to fund these brain scientists, but a 6-story building housing neurosurgeons, neurologists, neuroscientists, and other brain researchers. My husband went on to work with the legislature to form the Florida Speeders Trust Fund. So every time one of you gets a speeding ticket, you are partially funding traumatic brain and spinal cord injury. So it is a twist of fate that my draft-dodging husband, finest point in his career and what he will be known for, is being the founding director of the UF Brain Institute, initiated with the Department of Defense grant to help war veterans.